Order, order. Hello and welcome to another episode of Reporters Without Orders, where we discuss what made news, what didn't, and some things that absolutely shouldn't have. Joining me are two of my colleagues, Ashwine, right here in the studio with me, and Aditi, who's online. Um, what made news is, of course, the central government's raids on three people associated with the news channel, and which the government alleges are connected to the alleged liquor scam that has taken place in Delhi. And Ashwin has done a story along with Tanishka, which he'll talk to us about. And what shouldn't have made news probably is the Wire story on Meta about this one program that Meta has that gives a lot of secret powers to people around the world, and in the Indian context to Amit Malviya, which Aditi will now tell us about. Those stories have, by the way, been taken down in a statement yesterday. We are recording this on October 19th. Just 24 hours ago at 8:30 yesterday, Wire took down those stories and said that it will launch an internal review. What led to all that, we'll come to. But hello, guys.
Thank you, Ayush.
Hi, Aditi.
Thanks, Ayush. Thanks for having me.
You,
Ashwine.
Aditi has already filed, I think, couple of stories on the whole Wire series on Meta, and I think she's working on a third story. So that has kept her busy. If not for that, we would have had her in the studio. Ashwin, आप बताइए, मीडिया रंबल में आप थे पिछले हफ्ते हैबिटेट सेंटर में, कौन सा सेशन अटेंड किया
मैंने
आपने?
किया था जो मीडिया में विविधता का सबसे पहला मतलब ओपनिंग जो पैनल डिस्कशन था उसमें मैंने वो कवर किया था। बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट था क्योंकि पहले मतलब हमारी जो रिपोर्ट होती है, जो सालाना रिपोर्ट होती है, जो ऑक्सफैम के साथ न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री करता है कि मीडिया में जेंडर का कितना रिप्रेजेंटेशन है और कितना कास्ट का रिप्रेजेंटेशन है। तो वो जो इम्पोर्टेंट रिपोर्ट थी जो उसको पहले आकांक्षा ने प्रेजेंट किया, उसके बाद उस पर पैनल डिस्कशन हुआ जिसको मीना कोटवाल ने होस्ट किया था। तो मैंने उसको कवर किया, तो उसमें बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फाइंडिंग्स आई थी कि 219 न्यूज़पेपर्स, न्यूज़ मैगज़ीन और ऑनलाइन पोर्टल जो हैं उनके प्रोपराइटर या मोस्टली जो एडिटर इन चीफ हैं वो अपर कास्ट से बिलोंग करते हैं। मतलब 219 में से 197 अपर कास्ट से बिलोंग कर सकते हैं। और डिजिटल मीडिया में सिर्फ 2 ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था जिसके एडिटर या प्रोपराइटर SC/ST कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करते। तो ये जो डिफरेंस है मतलब हमारे कास्ट का, वो ह्यूज है। और ये सब हो पाया क्योंकि ऑक्सफैम और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री ने वो रिपोर्ट की। तो ऐसी
जी
रिपोर्ट्स होनी चाहिए जिससे डाइवर्सिटी के बारे में और कास्ट के रिप्रेजेंटेशन के बारे में लोगों को पता चलता है।
जी. Aditi, you were also at the Media Rumble. Is
Yes.
there anything you found? I mean, most of the event was pretty good, but anything that blew your mind?
I mean, I was really looking forward to the Sophie Zhang conversation that Chitranshu had, and it did serve. That whole day, as you probably know, I'd been waiting for the Wire's third story with their rebuttals, and when it was the last 10 minutes of the Q&A session with Sophie Zhang, the story dropped. And so after that, she was basically inundated with people asking her, hey, what do you think about the third story? And she was like, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting as a session, especially given that she had a pretty good grasp over certain, how should I put it? Certain mannerisms of speaking and all those things. So yeah, it was interesting.
And I remember when we were there on that day before the session, you were speculating that what if during the Sophie Zhang session, as it plays out, the Wire drops its third story? And I was like, yeah, but would they really, calculate it that much? And maybe they didn't, but that's what ended up happening. It's in the second half, actually, the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes when the story came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think they coordinated, but I would still like to think of myself as a prophetess for
Yeah.
having said that before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, Aditi, let's talk about this Wire versus Meta affair, as people have put it. I've noticed that since Wire has redacted its story, there is some sort of silence from Meta. I mean, there's no brash tweeting and calling out as one might have expected them to do. But to just lay out what has happened, on 10th, Wire put out a story which said that Amit Malviya has too much powers given to him by Meta on Instagram, and basically he can take down any post he wants without content moderation even kicking in. One of the spokespersons in Meta said I don't know, this seems to be fabricated, the content that Wire has published in its story. Next day, Wire does a story where it publishes a email by this spokesperson, Andy Stone, and then Meta again claims that even that email appears to be fabricated, and a lot of Desi voices also said that this does not sound like something that someone who, as a recent article said, someone who's grown up in New England would talk.
New Hampshire.
Yeah, post which you will do that. I mean, that's something we Desis use. Post which. Yeah, the kind of language. Then Wire said it'll bring out a third story, and it did, where it said that where it tried to prove that that email did come from Andy Stone, and it made a video of how it did it, and then it said it had shown that video to 2 independent experts. Now that video, Meta says, is also fabricated. It's made on a dummy platform, or actually a free trial version of that platform, but a dummy account.
So I'll correct you there.
Yeah.
The statement that Meta put out. So I'll just go over what exactly happened. At the center of these 3 stories are 2 pieces of documents. One is this, what Wire believes to be an internal post-incident report about a particular Instagram story being taken down. That is one. Now, the second is this leaked internal email that's purportedly from Andy Stone, who's the policy communications director at Meta. Now, what does the post-incident report claim or show? That there was this particular story that this user called Cringe Archivist had uploaded. It basically mocked this man in Ayodhya praying to an idol of UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. And in the logs of this, it points out that, hey, this was taken down, and then the user submitted it for review, but it didn't go for review because Amit Malviya and a cross-checked user had reported it, and therefore it remained down. Now, the conclusion that Wire drew from this was that, hey, cross-check has even more sweeping powers than had previously been reported, because what had previously been reported was that if you're a cross-checked user, this basically means that it takes time for content moderation to kick in so that there's no PR disaster for Facebook or any of its platforms. So imagine, Ayush, you are a very influential journalist, and you probably are. You don't have to imagine that.
I'm fine as I am.
You tweet something that's critical of the government. And there is some issue with the automated content takedown system, which there are multiple issues with it. Those systems are pretty dumb. AI is not as smart as companies make it out to be. And your tweet gets taken down. That becomes a headline against Facebook. Facebook wants to avoid that. So which is why they have this cross-check system. So that, hey, when there's an issue, when there are reports or automated content takedowns, say against Prime Minister Modi or against, say, Virat Kohli, these things shouldn't be able to kick in immediately. There should be some kind of an overview happening, because it's better to be late than sorry and to have to deal with a PR disaster. Now, that's not always how it's worked out. Wall Street Journal last year, when it reported in the Hogan documents, which were leaked by the whistleblower Francis Hogan, reported that what happens in this process is that Facebook at times doesn't even take action against content that is violative. So, for instance, there were rape accusations against Brazilian footballer Neymar. What he did after he was accused of rape was that he posted nude photos of the woman who had accused him on Facebook. These photos violate Facebook's community standards because it's essentially revenge porn. It's nudity without consent of the subjects, right? And nudity is also not allowed on Instagram and Facebook. So yet these particular posts remained there for more than 24 hours because Neymar was a cross-checked user. So then they have spread across his followers. There's reputational harm done to the woman who accused him of rape. All these things followed. So what happens is at times Facebook does not take action, or it puts it in for review, which never happens. Now, what the Wire said on the basis of this post-incident report was that, hey, it's not just Facebook withholding itself from taking action. It also means that if a cross-check user reports a particular post, it will definitely get taken down and it will remain down. And Facebook said Andy Stone, who's, as I said, the policy communications director, and Guy Rosen, who's the chief information security officer at Meta, both of them tweeted that, hey, this underlying report seems to be fabricated. Now, why do they believe it to be fabricated, and why a lot of experts agree with them, including a number of experts I've spoken to? Now, it shows an Instagram.workplace.com URL. Now, what is Workplace? Workplace is this product that Facebook created, which is supposed to compete with Slack, right? So internal office communications and all of that. Now, now Facebook employees, as in all Meta employees, also use Workplace, but their URL doesn't say Instagram.workplace.com or WhatsApp.workplace.com or Facebook.workplace.com. All of them have one common URL called fb.workplace.com. It's not Instagram.workplace.com. So, and this I can confirm because I spoke to someone within Facebook and they showed me their interface. So it's not Instagram, it's fb.workplace.com. Now the question then arises is that, hey, why does this Instagram.workplace.com URL even exist? The explanation for that is that experts told me was that, hey, Workplace is a product that Facebook has, which it wants to sell as a software, right? Software as a service. Now it wants to make sure that when it sells to, say, Ashwine, who owns a company called, say, Grey Elephant, his URL, greyelephant.workplace.com, should be activated immediately. So because of that, when Facebook Meta configured Workplace, what they did was they put ***.workplace.com. As a result of it, what happens is you put anything instead of ***. It could be anything under the sun. It could be black mic. It could be red board. It could be white walls. It could be bespectacled Ayush.workplace.com. It will reroute you to workplace.com. The moment you actually create an account with Workplace, it will get activated. So you will then be routed to bespectacled Ayush.workplace.com. So that's what's supposed to happen. Now, the second piece of evidence, so the second story, they cited this internal email that they got hold of through a source. Now, that source credibility is in question. The processes that Wire followed, all of them are in question. Now, in this particular email, Andy Stone apparently emails his internal team that how the hell did this document leak, put these two journalists on a watch list, and get an Indian comms person to talk to them, and then I'll tweet about it. Post, which is what you were talking about initially, I'll tweet about it. In response, what this particular screenshot shows is that Rajiv Agarwal, who heads public policy for Meta India, has said, I will get a Meta India comms person to talk to the journalist. Half an hour after this email is supposedly sent by Rajiv Agarwal, an internal comms person actually gets in touch with the Wire journalist who wrote the first story and tells them that, hey, your first story is misleading, it's inaccurate, this, that. And the Wire journalist tells them, hey, I need an on-the-record statement. The story has been up for almost a day. Give me an on-the-record statement, which they don't. So on Tuesday, so when this conversation between the internal comms person and the Wire journalist happens, the Wire at this time does not have that internal email. They get it the next day. So they report it. Now people are kind of flummoxed that, hey, why is Andy Stone talking like this? Because you have to understand he heads policy communications for one of the most controversial social media platforms on this planet. At any given day, there are at least 20 to 30 cases filed against Facebook or any of its underlying platforms in any given territory. And this is a conservative estimate when I say 20 to 30. So that means governments can actually subpoena these internal emails. So why would he put something so incriminating in writing and send it to so many people? So I asked the Wire reporter about it. Hey, didn't it sound to be too good to be true? And she said, well, we trust our sources.
So Aditi, I'll just stop you right there. I just want to tell our viewers who should now be our listeners that this is all we have for the video segment of this podcast. But if they want to understand more on this hot topic of what went down between Wire and Meta, and where all we see angles and little nuances that probably should have been accounted for before and are interesting for our listeners, you can head over to episode 242 of Reporters Without Orders, and Aditi will be there explaining the whole controversy in full. And we'll also, of course, speak to Ashwine about his story on India Ahead and why people linked to the channel are under probe of the central government.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.